Okay guys, so welcome to the inside of the VW Up. We're going to go through a few things that are slightly different from the last car I had, and mainly the things that you need to know about for your show me, tell me questions during your driving test. So first thing is, you can see obviously we've got a key in this vehicle, not the push button start, so conventional key start. Couple of things that are also different. Reverse gear, if I just move down here now, reverse gear is in a slightly different position to the last vehicle, and we don't also need to lift anything this time. We push down slightly on the gear stick and move it back down to that bottom right position. The rest of it, the gears are going to be exactly the same for you. Moving on then, few other differences. Down here to the right of the key we have our headlight operation. Basically there you can see it's on headlights off. We do have the daylight LED running lights, so they'll still be on for you. Straight up, the next position to the right, that is going to be side lights or parking lights, and then the next position round to the right, that's our normal dipped beam. Okay. On your driving test they can ask you how you would put on the rear fog lights and what distance you would need for visibility. The distance is 100 meters, and to put your fog lights on now, we simply pull this lever back towards us. So if we pull it once, you can see now we've got an indication over here on the left that the front fog lights are on. If we pull it back another one, we can now hopefully see that slightly illuminated, and that's showing us that both our front and rear fog lights are now on. To cancel them, we just push the button back in twice and then turn off. Once our lights are on, normal dipped beam, which they are now, to put your lights onto full beam, it's a simple process as before, using this left hand stalk. And we just push that left hand stalk forward, and hopefully you'll see in that window there the blue light has come on. So to take them off, you flick back to push them on there. That's putting them on main beam now, which is the lights that people use at night when they're down country lanes to illuminate the road when other people aren't coming towards us. If we see that blue light in that window, in normal circumstances we need to get this pulled back and get rid of it because it's dazzling people. Okay, so that's our lights. Wipers then, they're on the same stalk on the right hand side, but this time they operate in a slightly different way. So if we can see on here now, they're off. To move them to low, we move up one, and hopefully we can see that we've got intermittent wipers that will come on. There's no automatic wipers on this vehicle. Okay, so they should be on low now, so they're not operating too much. The next one up puts them on all the time, and the next one up puts them on really quickly for that motorway situation where we've got heavy rain. Move it back down twice then, and we move to the off position. If we want to wash our front window, we pull this back towards us as we did before, and hopefully you can hear that, and you can see that is spraying the window. They will cancel themselves automatically after a while. There you go. To operate the rear wash wipe, we push back to just put the wiper on, and trust me, it is going. If we want to wash the rear window, we push it towards the dashboard, push it forward, and hopefully you can hear that noise, and now I can assure you it's washing and wiping the rear window. Pull it back again to click it off. Sounding the horn on the vehicle then, something they can again ask you to do. Hopefully you can see this symbol here, so we just push this center area of the wheel, and that will operate the horn. Now we're moving over to the window operation, so it's very similar to before. This vehicle only has the front two windows which are electric, and you can see here there's the two buttons for your windows, passenger side, driver's side. So you just choose the one that's nearer to the door you want and operate it as you would normally. Okay, just while we're on the subject, here we have our electric mirror operation, which is in a far better place than on the last vehicle. So we just click that around to select which door mirror we want, and then use this as a little joystick to move those mirrors like we did before. Okay, the next things then are to do with the heating demisting function. So the first question is, would you demist the rear window screen for me when it's safe to do so? Here, there is the heated rear window screen. That's what you need for that. Simple press of it, it illuminates, and that is that job done. Okay, press it again to take that away. On this vehicle then, demist the front window screen. This is to do with these three combinations of dials here. So the first thing is we need to have this one selected. Hopefully you can see that at the top you've got like a picture of the front window screen. That's where we need it. Okay, that's directing all the air towards the front window screen. The next one over here then, this one puts like a hairdryer. It's got various fan settings, and if I twist this round you can hopefully hear that the fan gets louder and faster, blowing more and more air on to the windscreen. So if they ask me to demist the front window screen, I need this one on hot, which is round to the right. So I'd rotate that one all the way round to the right, then rotate this one as far round to the right as it would go, and then make sure that one is straight up pointing at the windscreen. And that's that function done for them. Once you've done that, just click this round a little bit and try and just move your heater back to a central area so you don't get too warm on your driving test. While we're on the subject, we've got our hazard warning light here. So if the examiner asks us how would we check that all our indicators are working on the vehicle, we can simply press this and we get the indicators all the way around the vehicle operating, and we can go and check that they work okay. Just press it again to cancel it. Other things that they can ask us about then, they can ask us about the anti-lock braking system on the vehicle. How would we know if that's fully functioning? So if I just turn the car off for a second, I want you to look into the display, and when I turn the key on, you should hopefully see that the ABS light came on and off again. I'm just going to do that again for you. So hopefully you can see when I do it, it's around this area here, near the centre of this wheel, just to the left of it. It's an amber light. Let me just take that off again. Watch for it this time. There it is. It comes on, checks itself, and then goes off. So the answer to the examiner's question is, how would you know if your anti-lock braking system was working okay on the vehicle? The answer is, I would turn my ignition on. I'm expecting to see that ABS light come on in that centre window and test itself and then go off again. That indicates to me that there's nothing wrong with the system. If that ABS light comes on in normal circumstances, then there's probably something wrong with one of the sensors on the system and you need to take it to the garage to get it checked. Okay, just while we're on the subject, if we look over to the left there, see that light there above the one that says EPC. That's your engine management light. Okay then guys, another few questions that they can ask us about during the driving test. The first one is to do with adjusting our head restraint. Now in this vehicle, the head restraints you can't see very well because I've got the COVID covers on, but they're not adjustable in this car. They're high back seats and they don't have an adjustable mechanism on them. But if they do ask you that question, then what you would say is that there is a lever that you usually push in that allows you to extend your head restraint up or down, and what you would do is you would aim to put the thickest center area of your head restraint in line with the top of your ear or your eye line. So what we normally do is we put our hand horizontally on the top of our ear and touch the head restraint and then adjust it up and down until that's in the center of your head restraint, the top of your eye or your top of your ear. Okay, and I'll point that out to you in the vehicle. A couple of other things that they might ask us about then in the car. They might ask us to how would we know if there was a problem with our power assisted steering in the vehicle. So what we say to them is that we put our hand, usually our other hand actually, our left hand, on the wheel, and we pull down slightly like that, and you'll find it's very stiff, very hard to pull down. And then as you start the vehicle with the key, this hand will go quickly down like that with the pressure of the wheel. That shows that the pump in the engine has started to work, and it's made your steering very light, and that the pump, the power assisted steering, is working. And again, we'll demonstrate that in the vehicle. A couple of other questions that they can ask us about then are to do with brakes. So how would we know if our foot brake was working okay? And we'd basically say that we would depress the pedal as we drive off at the beginning of our journey, and we expect the pedal to feel exactly the same as it does normally. It wouldn't travel down too far, it wouldn't feel too stiff, too firm. It would also not feel spongy. And it would work, the brakes would work correctly. They'd stop us how they normally do, and importantly they'd stop us in a straight line, indicating that both sides are nicely balanced. If there was any problem with that, then we would take it to a garage and get it checked out. The next one is to do with the handbrake, or the parking brake, which as you can see is here. And what we would say is that when we put this on, we pull it up to put it on, we expect it to travel to the same sort of place it always does. We don't expect it to come right up here, and we expect it to hold us nicely on a hill. Remember, this is only applied as an emergency when the car is actually moving. It's usually applied after we've fully stopped with our foot brake. Okay, I think that's pretty much all the questions to do with the inside of the car. Lighting. They'll ask you how you would check your lights are working. They'll tell you you don't need to leave the vehicle. The standard answer for that basically is that what we would do is we would get a friend or a family member to go round the vehicle and check it while we try our different lights out inside the car. If we haven't got a family member or a friend available and we're not sure whether one of our lights are working okay, particularly brake lights, which are difficult to see because we can't press the pedal and be at the back of the vehicle at the same time, then we can use some sort of reflection in a shop window or your house window, patio window, or something like that, where we can see whether those lights are working or not. Okay, we're now going to move outside the vehicle, and we're going to talk about a couple of things. Firstly, we're going to talk about questions to do with tyres. So firstly, they may ask us, how would we check that the tyre pressure of our vehicle is correct for a journey? Okay, so the first thing we would say is that in the morning, when the car is cold, we would take the vehicle to a local garage where we would use an approved device, and we would check that the tyre pressures in all four wheels is correct. How will we know what the tyre pressure should be? Then we would check the user manual in the glove box of the vehicle. How would we check that the tyres are safe for use on the road and that the tyre tread depth is sufficient? Okay, so the tread depth limit is 1.6 millimeters, and that 1.6 millimeters is a bit difficult to see here, but it has to be in this center 3/4 of the tyre. So they're not bothered about this little bit on the edge here. They're bothered about the main bit of the tyre that's in contact with the road, the center 3/4. So it has to be at least 1.6 millimeters around the center 3/4 of the tyre and around the whole circumference of the wheel. Okay, how will we check those? Well, we can do two things really. There is a little telltale lump in that groove there. It's set at about the legal limit. If it wears down to that, you'll know. But more importantly, we can use one of these things, which is called a tyre tread depth gauge, and we simply put it in the tyre and press down and then read off the depth of the tread. This is a tyre pressure checker, and we put this little thing there by my finger on the valve, and that will shoot this this out where you can read the amount of pressure in the vehicle. Okay, moving into the bonnet then. To open the bonnet, there's a lever inside the vehicle, and it's down in the passenger footwell, which I'll show you in a second. Once you've done that, you have this little lever here to lift up when you come to the car and it's closed, and once that's lifted up, you can open the bonnet. Down in this corner here, we've got this little device which normally clicks up into here, and we pop that down into this hole down there, and that keeps the bonnet nicely safe and open for us while we talk to them. In here then we've got a couple of things: screen wash, coolant, engine dipstick, engine oil, and down at the back there with the yellow on it is the hydraulic brake fluid. So the questions pretty much all go the same way. Could you tell me how you would check you've got sufficient in any of these, and how would you do it? So screen wash, simple, just if it runs out or you get an indication in your dashboard that you're running low, then you just mix up the correct amount of fluid as per the manual and fill it up. Coolant then, we do this one when it's cold in the morning. What we would say is that we would check down the side of the coolant, and I don't know whether you can see here, but we've got a maximum and we'll have a minimum down below there, and we just check we've got enough in. If we haven't, then we undo this top here, unscrew it, check in our book what the correct stuff is to put in, mix it up and fill it up to the correct level. Engine oil then, in the morning when it's cold on a flat level surface, we would pull out this dipstick and we would wipe it clean with a nice clean cloth, and then put it back in again, and then pull it out again. And when we read it, we'll see where that oil comes to, and there's indications on there, maximum and minimum. If we've got to put some in, we'd look in our handbook, find out what the correct stuff is to use, and we take this cap off here, unscrew this cap, and we put our engine oil in there. Don't put too much in at a time, just put a little bit and keep checking that you've got enough in there. Over to the left then here, tricky one to see, but it's a little reservoir just like the coolant, and on the side of it we've got minimum and maximum again. This is your brake fluid that makes your brakes work well for you. Again, we just check it when it's cold in the morning. If you see on there it says .4, that's the correct grade of hydraulic fluid that you need for this vehicle.